So this week is Kaya's birthday week, which is making things definitely harder on all of us, but I wanted to make a video that honored something she was very passionate about. So the thing she was most passionate about in life was animals.
There's a puppy right here.
Hi, this is Catherine. Welcome to A Grief Journey. If you're new here, I made this channel after my 11-year-old daughter Kaya suddenly and unexpectedly died, just to talk about all these things that happen with grief, kind of document my journey, and hopefully give some things about grief that are interesting or helpful to others as well. So if you're just tuning into this channel, you probably saw from the intro video how much our daughter Kaya was in love with all animals. It didn't matter the animal, insects, rodents, snakes. She was begging us for a snake. She loved them all and was passionate about all of them and protecting all of them. And a lot of people who know how many animals we have, which is 7 animals, ask us how the animals have handled grief. They're curious about what animals' reactions to her loss are. And all of our animals had, some similar reactions, but also some different reactions. So I thought I would take this opportunity to introduce you to all of our animals and tell you a little bit about each one and the things that we noticed that they went through after Kaya died. All right, so the first animals I'm going to talk about and their reaction after Kaya died are Kaya's guinea pigs. So meet Jackson. Jackson is one of our 3 guinea pigs. We adopted the boys after Kaya just kind of obsessively told us how much she needed more animals. And it was her birthday that year. We kept asking her what she wanted for her birthday. And the only thing she could come up with was more animals. So we ended up adopting 3 guinea pigs. Kaya, these guinea pigs lived in her room. Kaya would take them out and play with them all the time. She'd make little videos that featured them all the time. When COVID hit, she was taking guinea pigs to virtual classes. She'd grab a guinea pig and just come sit with one of us in meetings. And so everyone from our work knows the guinea pigs because they always just ended up photobombing meetings. We would go on outings and she'd take a guinea pig with us. This little guy came on a huge road trip with us once. So they had a lot of love and interaction with Kaya over their lives. We adopted them when they were pretty young. Oh man. When she died, just like a lot of us, when you have something really difficult and traumatic happen, your digestion shuts down. So they were not really eating much at first. It took a while. There are days where we kind of sense Kaya's around. We hear more banging in her room. On those days, the guinea pigs actually do seem to eat all their food, but even 5 months out, they still have days where they just seem too depressed to eat anything. They really, really seem to miss her. Goodness. Hi, you're so sweet, aren't you? They're also a little more scared of us than they were of Kaya. Kaya was their person. Kaya was the one who always handled them, and they're very sweet and very loving, but they run away a little bit faster when we come than they did with Kaya. But guinea pigs are very sweet, and these guinea pigs definitely loved her very much. Is there anything you want to say about the guinea pigs?
I don't know.
All right.
Boy.
Yeah. Oh, Kai would also yell at people well, mostly her dad and I, we would say, "Oh, Kaya, you're so cute." She'd yell at us because she wasn't as cute as the guinea pigs, and we needed to know that. All right, now I would like to introduce Polar and my daughter, Corinne. Corinne is not one of the animals I'm talking about today, but she is here to snuggle animals. So Polar is a very special dog, special in quotes. I've unofficially diagnosed him with ADHD. He's very distractible and spontaneous and not quite as aware as his sister. But he and Kaya had a very special relationship. You know, he was Kaya's first dog. She had been obsessed with getting a dog for the whole 4 years of her life when he came into the world. And I'd love to share a sweet little story that I shared at Kaya's memorial about Polar. So we had just gotten Polar, and she had to have her tonsils out. And we got to the hospital, and she was sitting in her little hospital bed, and the surgeon came over to check in before the procedure and asked, "What are you going to do today?" And she goes, "I'm going to play with my puppy." And you could see a look of terror cross his face. Like, these people did not tell her that she's going to have surgery today. And then she finishes, "I'm going to play with my puppy after I have my tonsils taken out." And the surgeon said, "Well, that's a really sweet idea, but I don't think you'll feel up to playing with your puppy after your tonsils get taken out." But the entire afternoon after getting home from the hospital, all she did was play with Polar. So Polar is a very spacey, spastic, and sweet boy. And after Kaya died, the way he reacted was, at first he was searching for her a lot. Every time we opened a door to a room, he'd run in there real quick and search the entire room like we were hiding her somewhere or something. This went on for the first couple weeks, and then we brought Kaya's ashes home. And I don't know too terribly much about dogs, but I know they learn from smell. So I let him smell her ashes. When he smelled her ashes, he sniffed for a really long time and his eyes looked terrified. And then he finally slowly backed away from the ashes. And that day he stopped searching every room every time we opened a door. So those were some of the things that we noticed after Kaya died on how Polar reacted.
He's a good boy.
And now here we have Fuji. Fuji, we adopted her when she was 3 years old. She had already had babies that she had to say goodbye to. Yeah, I know that was hard, sweetie, wasn't it? Every time I talk about her babies, she does give me a look. I feel like there's a part of her that knows what I'm talking about. Fuji, when we first adopted her, she was having a lot of behavior issues. She was very aggressive with other dogs. She never hurt another dog, but she acted very aggressively around them. She flipped out anytime Polar, we had already adopted Polar, anytime Polar was eating around her, she flipped out at him. She would try to escape and run away to get to other dogs in the neighborhood. She could get out of her leash when we were taking her on walks to go after other dogs. And we were just really sad because we were feeling like we were going to have to give her up again. And one day we walk by and little Kaya is on her back with her arms and her legs completely wrapped around Fuji. And if you know anything about dogs, yes, being hugged is definitely a sign of aggression to dogs, and they usually don't like it. But she was just letting Kaya lay on her, wrap her arms and legs around her, and didn't mind at all. And that's when we knew we had to find a way to keep her. And she did calm down. Once she realized we were her family, she was safe with us. Again, we don't know what happened to her before she came to us. She has just become the best, sweetest dog that we could have ever hoped for, and a great companion and sister for Polar. Polar has a lot of energy. Very few dogs can tolerate his amount of energy, but she can. And she's got a very motherly way around her. She's quiet. She usually watches and listens, but then she comes in and she supports. When Kaya died, I think, unlike Polar, she knew what happened right away. She just would lay there and stare at the wall. She's a big girl. She usually eats a lot. She stopped eating. She'd eat very little. We were worried about, her losing too much weight, which is silly to say. You gained it all back. It's fine. And she also just was very motherly with us. Whenever we were crying or talking about Kaya, once she was feeling a little bit better and had a little more energy, she would just come up and kind of lay on her feet or next to us to just be there and be present. So she's just got a very good sense of what's happening around her. A lot of love and a lot of motherly affection, and losing Kaya definitely depressed her. And again, unlike Polar, her brother, she seemed to figure it out right away, and immediately went into depression. And I've just got to say, that when shortly after she died, we obviously had a lot of people in and out of the house coming to support us, coming to check in on things. And she was the most relaxed with that. She seemed to kind of know that it had to happen. So she's just wonderful, and we are so glad that we saw Kaya, hug her all over that day, and decided that we needed to figure out a way to keep her. So to finish off this video, I would love to introduce you to our chinchilla, one of our two chinchillas. One of Tinkerbell. Now, the chinchillas we got after we... Here, you hold her. You got her. We adopted after we got the guinea pigs, because Corinne here felt left out with Kaya getting animals in her room, but she didn't. So we adopted... It's okay if she goes and plays. We adopted 2 chinchillas, and the chinchillas are Corinne's animals, and they lived in her room, although they live in Kaya's room now. So they didn't get a chance to really bond with Kaya as much. But I wanted to bring one of them out, A, to show you how cute they are, and B, to talk about another thing that Kaya was very passionate about, which is adoption. We have adopted every single one of our animals, and most people seem to know you can adopt cats, you can adopt dogs, but most people don't seem to know you can adopt something as unique or rare as a chinchilla. Kaya would always peruse animals up for adoption so she could find a new one to beg us for. So we have seen...
It worked 5 times.
It worked so many times. Of course she thought, and it probably would have worked again eventually. But we have seen, thanks to Kaya, chickens, pigs, snakes, lizards, spiders, chinchillas and guinea pigs, obviously, hamsters, mice. What other animals have we seen up for adoption?
Ferrets.
Ferrets. We've seen just about any animal you could hope to have under your roof up for adoption. But definitely if you want an animal like a chinchilla, they can be a little bit harder to find up for adoption. So in Kaya's honor, I'm going to link some adoption sites below that help you if you're looking to get maybe a more unique animal to take into your home, but you want to adopt. Maybe one of these sites can help you out. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm
taking her back.
You're taking her back. Thank you, sweetie. I love you. Animals feel, just about everything that we feel. And while it's hard to see the reactions after Kaya died, especially while we were having reactions, we were worrying about all these animals and whether or not they were eating and whether or not they were going to be okay. It's also kind of beautiful to know that all these creatures really benefited from Kaya's life, and really cared about her and miss her. So I hope you enjoyed this. Post below if you have animals and you've been through a hard time, how they reacted. I'd love to hear it. Every animal's just different, just like humans. Every animal's going to react a little bit differently, but animals definitely notice when someone dies. So I'd love to hear your stories too, or your thoughts on any of the animals. And if you're looking to get an animal, please check out the adoption sites that I'm going to link below. And I hope you all have a great day.